Hello, everybody. I just realized that actually I left something out of my original video this morning, and it was on about speaking. I wish I could put my hair down. I know it's a mess, and just by the looks of it, it's not like I've been at a fancy party or anything, because I haven't. I just tried it on. I actually used. Okay. I wanted to actually add a sort of like international sort of a maybe I should put my hair down. It's stinking hot. Let's see. How do you find that Word document that I just wrote again? So I sort of felt that it was important to talk about while I'm also addressing the insufficiencies of our current domestic government, that we should also address them towards our, um, uh, you know, foreign, in the lens of foreign affairs. Sorry, my hair's bugging me. It just looks too wild. Um, okay, here we go. So I'm just going to read that, and then everybody off their way to go and challenge my own thoughts and see what everybody else uh, has to say about everything. But so actually, my angle here is a little bit more on behavioral psychology. So behavioral psychology and what it tells. It's realistic to assume that Putin is feeling threatened over the statements that he made on September 2022. I'll add that the reason for so-called military failures, as labeled by the West, is a gesture of aligning both great powers' common interests. I read that entirely wrong. I'm gonna have to go back. That was a period. So what I'm trying to say is that it's realistic to assume that Putin is feeling threatened, and it did, and I don't agree with the um, I guess a opinion that I don't live in New York, okay, so leave me alone, and I don't want to either, or Washington. I'm an LA girl. I've always been an LA girl. I've never even left LA. All I have is reading your snobby news. And all I have to say is, so just where, yeah, that was just me trying to be like lofty. Like, but we should just align ourselves. Like, all in reality, what's happening is he's saying that he feels threatened because he has a reason to, and then I'm saying, okay, but he's bringing it up because he might want to actually engage in negotiations. um I really feel at the end of the day is I think you should just put this down, because mainly more of it is kind of is definitely again, I'm trying to be scientific about it and using, it's if you just analyze the behavior, then there has to be a cause, and then if it traces back to how the other party is conducting themselves, then it might actually make sense logically, because that's what science is, and psychology is supposed to be a science. I think that Putin is being a big person here, and I do get the feeling that that we are trying to pressure him a little bit more. And I don't know if Biden is like on some sort of like suicidal mission where he's just gonna like he's like that guy from like Texas that wants to like poison everybody with a Kool-Aid or something. It's like, can somebody stop him, please? Anybody? Even Tucker Carlson mentioned this last night about how, like, please, like, don't do it. Like, not exactly in those words. I mean, he just said, like, hey, you guys give too much credit to the administration, and you have no reason to understand how everything can just go wayward. But you have to have that safety net and be able to prevent things and in the first place detect. Actually, as an accountant and auditor, is you detect things first before you even have to actually prevent them first and then detect them. So I have mousse in my hair and I'm not sure what to do with it. So I really do think that it would be Biden's fault if we got into a nuclear war. I don't see any reason why Putin, and I'm not saying this to like charm him, and I'm not saying this to like make an enemy from Biden, but I am saying this because I freaking can. I yeah, exactly. Actually, how many people out there feel the same way? And then they just say, like, well, I can say something about it, but we're just going to let our government take care of it. We're just going to wait for 2 years for the next election. Well, do you know how fast a nuke head can fly here? Less than 2 years. It's less than 2 years. And this is the reason why I thought, well, I don't want to be the person that isn't alert and that isn't and that is just kind of like caught off guard. I kind of want to read what's going on out there, and I want to know if our president is sentencing us to his own suicidal bed. Um, it's kind of I mean, I understand that he wants to get rich. So does everybody else. I mean, I'm not sure what the deal is, really. I mean, he already has everything he can possibly want. So there's something else behind it. As a religious person, I can tell you that would be a very great, um, uh, would be, I'm at a loss for words, but he would be a candidate for like some kind of like a, preventing everybody else from enjoying God because we should all be able to enjoy God and have a relationship with God before we can actually go to God. And this is what everything that's going to it is going like when people talk about like the um antichrist, the beast, and the years of tribulation, all that means is you're gonna go through like difficulty accessing a relationship with God. And if you don't already have God, that's fine. Like to you, that's kind of just more like we're just gonna like people that like do have a relationship with God might just look back and not even care about what happens as far as like whatever else in the revelation because you might just be like maybe squirrels that would have just burned in like a California fire anyway. So, but we're not at house. And so we have to make sure that we understand that we have a power over our president. We should have power over our president to make sure that foreign powers, which is even more like I can't believe that he's treated the way he is only because he has nuclear weapons. So if you don't treat him with a respect that isn't necessarily, um, I don't know, what would you call it? Maybe there was a different plan, and that is actually exactly what upsets God, is that you step outside of his plan. So I'm like literally crossing my fingers that the Bidens haven't like fudged it up, and or will continue to at least, and we can actually move on to like a new phase of this government, and everything's okay even on that side, because animosity only feels like like the fuel. We're just kind of and tight, and why should we tie ourselves up on things that we don't even have control over? Like, we don't necessarily have, what percentage have we actually contributed to carbon dioxide, and how fast it exceed it, excels. I'm totally so well knowledged in this area. So now the next thing I'm going to say is we don't know. We don't know what we're talking about as far as the cycles of what this world is actually doing with itself. This is this is from reading articles. This is from studying my college science classes, and this is just also from knowing that we don't know everything at the end of the day. So I'm gonna not necessarily go further with that at this moment, but I did have to say that we might be participating in this, not because it's our fault, us little people out here, but because there's an administration out there that wants to see how far they can go, like little children pushing boundaries and just waiting for the parent to come and say, hey, you can't push that far. And I think that it's most of us have seen how embarrassing it is actually, that some international leaders have just said like, okay, Joe, dude, you were probably in office too long and didn't really realize what the didn't have the pulse on his finger as to what was going on. It's a difficult job, so I can't. I have to give him credit for that. I'm going way too long with what I was trying to say, because I just want to reiterate is, um, we can't start putting like pointing fingers the way, especially as the culture of the Democratic and Republican Party is doing right now. Because if we keep doing that and the Democratic Party is in control, and they just keep pointing fingers, that's what they're going to do to in regards with their foreign affairs. And we're going to end up in a situation where nobody had representation on the other side to be able to stop it. Of course, we know that there's people that are protesting over there. We can't rely on that. We can't be assured. We can't just say, oh, well, it's happening over there too. Yeah, but even if that if nothing ever happened, if we could minimize anything, that would be worth it, to just kind of consider it and mention it and use that as a reason for as a criteria for how we vote for the next person. Is, well, this is how you voted last time, this is how I want the person that I want in office to vote the next time. So, excuse me. All right, well, that's where I want to finish tonight. Have a great Friday and a good weekend, and I Can't say I love you all, but I love most everybody. Bye.